know, we're going to be getting into the deep market today to see what's going on. We had an exciting day yesterday. We're seeing what today is going to be working out. We had this gap up. Is it going to hold? If you guys want to know more about who I am and where you can find more information, go over here to profitpilot.com. And had a really good trade Friday going into Tuesday, actually. And you can see it here was deja vu. And that was something I wrote about, very interesting. It worked out perfectly. We're seeing a little bit of softness today, but we're going to see if that has anything to do with the market. And then if you guys are interested in the way that I trade, my style, the indicator that I use, Moxie, or my alert service, you can come over here to services and you get the subscription and or the class with the indicator. So let's kind of get into it. Um, we're going to basically be running this thing until the wheels fall off. It is challenging to say what are things going to do, when is this thing going to roll over. You know, I have been expressing a lot of caution because the VIX and the UVXY have been going up at the same time that the market has been going up. You know, usually we don't see that, and usually that is kind of a heads up and a precursor of something to come. Now, as far as the market goes, what I have been saying is, you know, with these, we're outside of these areas. We're outside of the daily third ATR. We're outside of the third on the hourly. We are off the hourly 50. All these metrics are up and outside of what I am used to and what I can operate with. So as far as trying to find the near-term support, the ground that price can then walk on, I usually go down to the 15-minute time frame, and that's where I say, hey, you know, usually as long as price is over the 15-minute 50, then we're good. And you can see we have been generally maintaining that this week and last week. We had a couple moments where it got a little bit close. You can see here that was Jerome Powell speaking about how they were going to be changing the way they look at inflation. And what it did, it pulled back and it did go to the 15-minute 50 and continued to kind of bump along that. And then we had a very interesting close Friday right there where price kind of took a big dip and then down. Yesterday was very strong in the markets as far as a lot of the tickers that I saw and some of the ones that I played. And then that brings us to today. Now, the news that I'm hearing is that the White House is looking to make sure that people can't be evicted during COVID or because of COVID or due to COVID. Now, whether that is the actual news that is spiking the market or whatever, that's what I'm hearing are the dots that are being put together, and so the market is up pretty big. Now, the only concern I ever have is when the market kind of jumps up like this, is it's too far away from support. You know, remember I like to say that price follows the 15-minute 50. Well, look where it is. You know, it's up there. Now that could make for a liquidation break, which can be very uncomfortable at the time, and you know we don't know if it's necessarily going to recover. And relatively small liquidation break here can have a very large effect on our individual positions if they're not, you know, positioned correctly. So it is a risk. That's why I do not really enjoy when the market is up here. You can see I always talk about the distance between price and the hourly 50, and we've got kind of that situation going on here, and we've got it still going on down here. And then you kind of look once more at the hourly chart. You know, we are kind of up there. So what do we do about that? I don't know. I mean, we keep kind of keep going up until we see otherwise, but you know, I'm very, very prepared for anything to happen and anything to happen quickly if it does. So, but until we can really get underneath these moving averages, I'm very hesitant to short the market. I've been looking to try and take the UVXY as a short or anything else like that, but it's just not quite happening yet. And then if we go over to the Qs, just up, up and away. Now we had Apple do a little bit of a pullback, and we had Tesla do a pullback. And once more, you know, they're really up there extended, but we got to see what price is going to do with the 15-minute 50, right? It's a little bit not as clean as the S&P, so the Qs kind of puncture the 15 a little bit, but they've always recovered. Again, I'm just kind of look at this stuff. My Moxie indicator is not looking superb, but it's not terrible either, and we just aren't broken through there yet. But you know that can change very quickly if it's going to change. So really just keep an eye on that. Even the IWM got into the action yesterday, but I think as we know, most of these, like the SPY and the IWM, probably the Dow Jones, are getting pulled by the QQQ, that kind of stuff. It's still in an inverse trampoline move. The price should not be over the 50 if the indicator is below zero. So I'm aware of that, but same thing, it has been trying to follow the 15-minute 50 for right now, and so we've got that going on. Then let's step over to the UVXY. I try and use this as a uh, kind of a barometer as far as, okay, when is something really going to happen? And originally what I was looking for is for price to cross the 50 here, get rejected by the 200 and come back down, tap the 50 or just come underneath the 50 and then move up. Well, we got just a little bit of a tap right there, and ever since then it keeps kind of moving up. Now, this is the concern and the warning signs that I have about the market still going up with the UVXY going up. That's not really a good situation that I enjoy, and it's telling us to really, really kind of be on edge about what's going on. So we got that kind of stuff happening. As far as some names that I'm looking at, Billy giving some back a little bit today. As I said, we got to be prepared. Any of these things can just really stop working at any time. I generally prefer to have price follow the 15-minute 50, and right now you can see it's starting to kind of come through that. Now, 15-minute 50 is the line in the sand I typically like. Not always that it's not always going to be a firm line, and then with that, it tends to also be the hourly 21, and that's something to look at as well to say, hey, can it find some support here, and can it get up and going again? One way to look at that, if we look at AMD to show you, the last time something really was cranking and what that looked like here. You can see the 15-minute was a little bit less important here because it kept chopping through the 15-minute 50, but here you can see that it held the hourly 21 each time until it started to break down. So we kind of have to be looking at this in the overall market and seeing what are these pullbacks going to be doing to our positions. So yesterday was a really good day. There was a lot of energy in the market. Well, what happens when you get that? You get the kind of this jump up and fade, which I think is what we're experiencing right now. So I am seeing that some of my positions are falling off here. It's not super great, but actually snap, that's the next one. We'll have to kind of see if anything is going to be able to hold up through the end of the day and kind of make our assessment there. Now, Snapchat does have some relative strength. This is one I've been talking about. The only issue is that it has the daily 50 right there. And the question is, can price get through it? Can it do it in a clean way? Or is this going to be a challenge? Or is that actually going to be the moving average that price just can't get past and get through? We're not sure. That being said, there is a double bottom here. Let me kind of move over the hourly chart so we can see that a little bit better right there. So I look at this and I say, here's your double bottom. There's your positive divergence. It did tap the hourly 50 there, and then it did a little bit of a pullback here, kind of into the 50, more like it's into the 200. The 8 is over the 21 on the daily chart, so everything was looking pretty good, and you could see that price actually recovered and then shot up today. So far so good. This thing's looking all right, and price is over the 15-minute 50, so can't say too much negative about that yet. And I'm trying to look at some of these stocks and see if they are going to be, as I said earlier, our barometer for what the market is actually going to do. Is there some real selling that is coming into the market, or is this just kind of a fade back to support? That's what we need to kind of keep looking at. Another one, Nikolai, along with these Tesla names. Looks like I might be getting just about stopped out on something like this. We had a great setup coming into this. You can see it's my typical elf shoe that I talk about. Here's the leg, here's the heel, here's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot, there's the elf toe. And we got that right there as the Moxie indicator was turning up very, very nicely. Like really, really good there. And then this one, it hit our stop yesterday, our break-even stop. So it was like, no harm, no foul. And then I looked at that at the time as price bouncing off of the hourly 50. Well, today it doesn't look like it can do it. So I think we're going to get stopped out on that one. And just price could not hold the 15-minute 50. Just couldn't do it. So couldn't hold that, couldn't hold the 15-minute 200, doesn't look like it can hold anything today. So that one, probably going to get stopped out on that. And that's okay. Things happen like that. Let's look at Peloton. This one was fantastic. We had a really good move into this one, high short interest, and not quite a move into earnings, but a little bit before that, it was also spiking up with a lot of the tech names. We got this right here as price was coming and sideways into an uptrending 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicator was looking good. And then you can even see here on the hourly chart, there's your double bottom and there's your positive divergence. So as price pulled into the hourly 50, we hopped on board. We saw a lot of volume come into this thing and just rode that up. And I think we got what, 23%? Yeah, 23% just a handful of days. All right, fantastic. And we sold out of that one, just said, you know what, it's good enough, let's just take it. Workhorse. This one's been interesting to say the least. We have been, it has been choppy, it has been challenging, and you can see in through here, it just kind of it does this like move up and then fade, and then move up and then fade, and then move up and then okay. So I've been trying to trade this one right in through here, and it pops up, and we then set our stop a little bit above break even just in case, because you know right there it faded, and then again kind of out of nowhere popped up again, and I said, all right, well let's see where this goes. And you guys know I love my 15-minute 50 for this kind of market. And so yesterday, you could see that price actually found good support at the 15-minute 50. So by the end of the day, actually halfway through the day, I saw this thing really had some energy. I said, let's get in this. I think it's going to work. I think it's finally going to break out from 19. Like you can see here, there was kind of a 19 level that it just couldn't quite get through. And it ran hard into the end of the day. And then this morning gapped up. So far, it's given it all back. Now, we got to see, you know, not much of a middle of the day type trader. I do like to see what happens by the end of the day, because, you know, there can be some weird movements. You know, there can be a liquidation break and then things move back up. We saw that with the S&P Thursday, right? We saw after Jerome Powell spoke, we saw his thing kind of come down, or the market come down and then recover, and then we go back up to the races for a few more days. So, challenging market. I do feel like seems as though we're coming to the end of something, but man, it hasn't happened yet. So we got to be careful there. And really, kind of big picture, we are still above the hourly 50. Now, kind of talking about this workhorse situation with the 15 and the hourly to show you, like, sometimes I might get a little bit chopped out early, but the overall trend is good. Let me show you AMC, not AMD, AMC. This is the movie theater, and they've been talking about how they're reopening and opening theaters, and they did have a high short interest as well. So let's see, I put a paper trade here, and just because I wasn't so sure if it was going to do anything, turns out it exploded. And then where I really did go in was right here, and it couldn't quite hold it. And so you can see that there was an instant drop, took us out with that our stop loss. And then what it did though, big picture, is it really just wanted the hourly 50. So this is the challenge that we face as traders, of saying, well, how much room do we have to move? What's comfortable? And which time frame is price going to actually respect? Which one does it care about? And this is really challenging, because sometimes they really care about the 15 and sometimes they really care about the hourly. And if they're kind of an excessively choppy stock, I don't really tend to like that. But case in note, notice here, price got underneath the 15-minute 50, price went down. Price got over the 15-minute 50, price went up. So little details for you all to kind of pay attention to and see out there. Let's take a look at some of the others that I'm looking at. Okta, kind of hanging in there. You know, looks like this thing is just about ready to break out. This is a similar move. So let me just reiterate here. If you go back to profitpilot.com and over to home, and you click on the setup deja vu, this is where I wrote about a little over a year ago. I had an MDB trade, and what it was is it kind of moved up into earnings and then dropped on earnings and then recovered just after earnings but didn't break out yet. And that was a trampoline move. I saw that back then. I traded it, made some money on it. And then I saw the same setup in Billy on Friday. And it took an extra day. Like Monday didn't do anything, but Tuesday, yesterday, it exploded and I had a really good trade. I actually bought an option on it, made 100% on that option. And this is something I'm seeing again with Okta. It looks very, very similar. You can see that it basically ran up into earnings, and then because of earnings, it dropped. And also, that is a trampoline move, right? Price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above 0. And then it recovered, and this is what I'm looking at, is it's just holding here, looking like, can it break out? That's what I'm trying to look at here and say, can it do it? and that's where we're at. So we're in as a Moxie group, and what I'm looking at is I really would like to see price start to stay above the 15-minute 50 and use the 15-minute 50 kind of push price up. So it may not happen today. Maybe this happens tomorrow. It's similar to, let's say, Billy. Just kind of go back to that one. And if you look at Billy, when it had that move that I wrote about, run up into earnings, fail on earnings, that was a trampoline move, price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above zero. And the next day it recovered, so I went in, and that was a Friday, and it took Monday then to kind of just go sideways, and then it finally moved. So maybe we're going to be in the same situation for Okta. We're not really sure. That's the kind of stuff with the market. We just have to kind of take a little bit of time with it and see what's going to do. Now, we do have our stop loss in case something really drastic happens, but there you go. Let's see, Devin ZM. What am I supposed to say about that? It's up. It's up big. The only metric that I can have up here is I'd like to see if it can hold the 15-minute 50. It's about all I can say. If you're in something like this, I would have cashed out here because wow, that's a heck of a move. And whether it moves later, I can deal with that later, or if it's just going to fade, I'd rather take my money. So something like that, you're just going to have to see. For now, the only thing I can say is, can it hold the 15-minute 50? And then Tesla, I know John Carter's all out of Tesla because they had of course, this is when they do it, is at the very top. They say that they had I think it was a $5 billion secondary offering. So that's going to add more shares to the market. It's going to dilute it, and it's going to drop the price. And so that's why that happened. And you can see it did it right there when it started to really break through the 15-minute 50 and stuff was starting to roll over. So that's that. And let's see, another one I've been looking at, Neo. And a lot of these electric car companies are the stuff that I'm trying to figure out, and that's the kind of stuff that I want to be taking. Now, I was hoping that, again, 15-minute 50, I was hoping the price was going to hold here with the 15-minute time frame. May not be doing it here. So then I'm willing to back up and say, well, can it do the 15-minute 200, and can it do the hourly 50? That was my next line in the sand, was the hourly 50, because Moxie indicator still above zero, it should have a lot of energy, and generally price will follow the hourly 50. So as long as I can kind of hang in here for a little bit, I'll consider this an overall larger flag, and we'll see if it can kind of recover. That's again why I don't want to be too whatever during the day, and see if by the end of the day where these things end up, and if there's something I really do need to pay attention to. Another one, BILL. Oh, that one got close to my stop. So another similar one that did this MDB thing, the Billy thing, and the Okta thing, where it runs up into earnings, and then, buy the rumor, sell the news. So they had the news of the earnings, okay, dropped on earnings, and then it all but basically recovered. This is, at the time, a trampoline move, priced below the 50, the Moxie indicator above zero, and you can see there's a lot of volume coming into this. It seems as though this should be buying volume. Could be selling volume, but it seems as though this is fairly constructive. Price isn't really going anywhere. It's just kind of hanging out. Um, Maybe kind of another little pullback, liquidation break, something to that extent. It is coming down to the daily 21. That seems okay. The 8 and 21, that moat I talk about, seems to be pretty robust. So we're just going to have to see if this can hold up. Let me show you here on the hourly. Another one of those elf shoes that I talk about. The fact that see here, the 8 is underneath the 21. That means the fast moving average is below the slow moving average, so the immediate trend is to the downside. And price can't really go up until that fast moving average gets on top of the slow moving average. And so that's what we're seeing. Now it's trying it today. A lot of times when I see this, it takes a second try. So, here's your leg, here's your heel. This would be the arch of the foot, and now what it's doing is putting in the ball of the foot to start moving up like that. So for those of you who know me and know my kind of trading and all that kind of stuff, that's what I'm looking at. We'll have to see if this can be nice to us and stay within this range. Hopefully it kind of stays right in through here. So that's why I put my stop just underneath that. I'd like to see this thing start to recover by the end of the day. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. And I think that kind of covers the bulk of what I was looking at. Let's see, Michelle. The NQ, yeah, so the Qs, we kind of covered that in the beginning. You know, they're up, they're extended. You know, this market is crazy, and the only line in the sand right now that I have is, well, we got to keep watching to see about price and the 15-minute 50. So that's kind of where we're at. Say, well, it's not underneath it, and it's not getting trapped by it, and so therefore we are still in an uptrend, and we'll just run this thing ragged till I don't know, maybe the end of the week. Who knows? So let's kind of go from there. Oh, and then GLD, let's go there because I am starting to see some activity in gold, and I think it makes sense because, well, people are starting to get maybe a little bit nervous. That's why they're hedging with the UVXY, and then also inflation. You know, we had Jerome Powell come out there and say, yeah, you know, kind of expects inflation to be happening, and I think people look at gold and precious metals to offset and defend against inflation. Let's see. So I was looking at here. People were asking me, "Hey, is this a place to go in? Was this the pullback?" I said, "No, that wasn't it. You don't want to go long against a downtrending moving average like that." And then I saw, here's your level, not quite divergence. GDX did a much better divergence. I'll show you that one next. And then we kind of look here. Price is over the hourly 50, and the hourly 50 is now starting to turn up a little bit. You know, better than it was down like that. As of yesterday into today, couldn't hold the 15-minute 50, but I kind of saw that coming. This is why I haven't gotten into gold officially yet, is because right here, you see how there's a big gap between price and the hourly 50? If I show you a little bit closer, this is how I trade, and this is why I went back into the Nikola trade, even though that doesn't seem to be working. But I don't like to just trade here when price just gets over the hourly 50. I like to actually know that price can hold the hourly 50, and so that's where I say, hey, there's a big gap here. Let me wait until price actually comes back down and touches it, either a pullback or a sideways flag, whatever it wants to do. I want to know that price can hold the hourly 50, and that's why I don't like to take a trade right here when there's a big gap between price and the hourly 50. So I'm going to continue waiting, maybe at the end of the day, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, but we're going to have to see if price can actually start to engage with the hourly 50. And with that, look at GDX, and you can see this one did a much better. There's your double bottom, there's your divergence. That's the kind of stuff that I like, and that's what I look for. And we're basically doing, you know, a double bottom into the daily 50. We're back at the daily 50. The 8 is over the 21 right there. So GDX does look pretty primed to go. This one is looking very interesting to me. But once more, just like GLD, you know, I put in a little note up here, a little paper trade, and I said, I just want to see what it's going to do here. Can it hold the 15-minute 50? Nope, it can't. But that's expected because look at the distance between price and the hourly 50. There was too much room right there. And you can see here that as of, I don't know, was it yesterday, today, right there, couldn't hold the hourly 50, came back down to this level, and that's why I want to wait another day and say, hey, you know, let's see when price can get back on top of the 15-minute 50, prove that the hourly 50 is support, and then we'll get the Moxie indicator back up over 0. So gold, precious metals, those are things that I'm definitely looking at to see what we're going to be doing on that. All right, well that pretty much covers everything. I'm going to be getting back to my positions and see what they are doing because it could be an interesting day. But yeah, come over here to profitpilot.com. Be sure to check it around. As I said, take a look at this last newsletter that I wrote. I'm going to actually do a follow-up newsletter. I think I'll write it today so that it gets posted tomorrow about this because it worked out perfectly. It did exactly what I was looking for, and it was all because of a trade that I took over a year ago on MDB, and I remembered that setup, and I was like, oh, I've seen this before. And so I loaded the boat and did really well. In fact, here's the screenshot of what I did with that. And so I posted this to my social medias and everything. And you can see here that I'm not always an option person. I'm kind of dabbling around. I thought, I really have something that should work here. I've seen this setup before. I know how to play this game. And so I actually went and got some options. I sold half. I put 80,000 on this thing and got a 106% gain. I started to kind of sell some off at that point, so I pocketed most of that because I just don't trust options. You know, it's not really my forte. So when I get a really good gain, like doubling my money, yeah, I'm going to be taking that. We will see where that goes at this point. And yeah, hop on over here, and then I'll write another newsletter for tomorrow. So thanks again, everybody. I will talk to you later.